Welcome to Card University. My name is Mark Tallman. I'm the Director of Learning and Development. The topic we have for today is taking ownership of the guest experience. So at this point, get out your training guides and we're going to turn to page 1 and we're going to look at our topics for today. We're going to look at effective communication skills. And the second point we're going to look at is what we call guest service phraseology. As professionals, we have words, we have tone of voice and body language when we communicate. So it's very important that we choose our words wisely, that we measure those words that we're using to make sure they're the best, most positive, impactful words. We also have to pay attention to our pitch and our tone of voice, as well as our body language. So on that page 1, we're going to look at the second point, which is what is called our communication skills. Now you see the first one, words. 7% of our communication, according to MIT, comes from our word choice. The second one, much larger, is voice inflection at 38%. The third one is body language at 55%. Now, personally, I don't know how you divide out these three components of a communication. With that said, they have a very powerful synergistic effect. What we say, how we say it, and how we communicate that with our body language is critical. Now, I'm going to give you an example of the power of words. So let's take two simple words. The word is fine and nothing. When I was in elementary school like you, we all learned what we call the connotations or meaning of words. When I was in school, the word nothing simply meant nothing, and the word fine meant fine, everything's okay. However, when I got married, I actually found out those two words can have a completely different meaning than I learned initially in elementary school. So I call up my wife when my kids were little, and I'd say, Victoria, how are things going with the kids? And I get back the word, oh, fine. Now, if you're not listening to pitch and voice on that phone call, you're missing the real meaning. So I'm half listening, half not listening, and I keep talking. And I'm not realizing what fine meant. So about halfway through the phone call, there's like tension. Something, ask another question. So I ask a question, is anything wrong? And I get a second response back. Nothing. So again, the exhale is coming across in the pitch and tone of voice. So here's the point. When I get home, I will find out what fine and nothing actually meant. Fine meant things are not fine. Nothing meant something. So the point of it is, as professionals, what we say, how we say it, and the body language you communicate with our guests have a huge impact. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. And what we're going to look at on point number 2 of your handout on page 1, it says the art of communication is causing people to feel, to think, and to act in a positive way. So each one of us have that power to cause people to feel, to think, and act by what we say, our words, through our voice inflection and our body language. Number 3 in your handout, right phraseology, tone of voice, body language creates positive emotions and visual pictures when you communicate with your customer. And then point 4, in your communication, to create positive influence, remember the human mind operates on what we call a cost versus benefit basis. Therefore, we need to inculcate in our communication logic, reason, value, and benefits. So there always has to be value and benefits to the customer in that communication to respond. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at words. Obviously, tone of voice and body language connect synergistically with the words. But let's go over to page 2. And what we're going to look at on page 2 is negative versus positive phraseology. Now, let's unpack this just a little bit. At our dealerships, there is language that gets used in our communication. We might not think much about it, but every word and how we say it in body language either creates a positive impression or a negative impression of the guest. By the way, these 12 words are not an exhaustive list. These are examples of very commonly used words. But what you're going to see in your handout on the left side are negative words and phrasing. These, by the way, not just the car business, but these words are used at many businesses. On the right side is an upgrade. It's better words, better phrasing. And what we're going to look at is the why. Why is one better than the other? So in your handout, we're going to be on page 2. We're going to look at number 1. I'm going to switch back out of the PowerPoint, and we're going to go through the words. So let's look at the first one, I'll have to. Now, when you say, I'll have to check your service records, I'll have to see if we have that car in stock, I'll have to check on the parts, I'll have to check with my manager, I'll have to call you back. All of those imply, I'll have to means I don't want to help you. It's an inconvenience. I'm going out of my way. Look on the right side of your handout. It would be my pleasure to look that up for you. Certainly, I will look that up for you. I'd be glad to look that up for you, or I would be happy to look that up for you. So the words that you see on the right side of your training guide are much better alternatives. I'll have to versus it would be my pleasure. Look at number 2. They're responsible. The finance manager should have told you. The service manager should have told you. The service advisor should have told you. Anytime you say they're responsible, you're technically throwing another person and or department in front of the proverbial bus. What customers hear you saying is, I'm not going to help you. You're on your own. You got to ferret this thing out for yourself. Look on the right side. We're responsible. We should have called you. We should have notified you. We should have walked you through what was on your warranty. We should have called you back. So when you say we, you're putting yourself in the equation. If it's not your fumbled ball, the customer knows that, but what they appreciate is the fact that you're owning it. So when you say we're responsible, that's a sign of ownership. I'm owning the situation. Let's look at the third word. I don't have the authority. I'm just a salesperson. I'm just a parts counter person. I'm just a valet. I'm just an administrator. We don't want to disempower the situation. So what we say is, I can get you to the right person, or I can direct you to the right person. Tell people what you can do versus what you can't do. The point is, what I can't do doesn't benefit you. It's what I can do, what I have the power to do. So people understand you may not have all the answers or solution, but if you know the person that does, and you can walk me in that direction to that person, I'm happy. Let's look at the next one, which is number 4. I'm going to have to call you back. Or cousin to that would be, I'm going to have to place you on hold. So here's the issue with that one. Generally, when you say I'm going to have to call you back, I'll have to is negative. But call you back, a lot of people are thinking, no, I don't want you to call me back because nobody calls me back. They say it, but they don't follow through with it. Or I'll have to place you on hold. People are like, I don't want to be stuck on hold for 10, 15 minutes. So they're disempowered. They have no choice they can make in the matter. But if you look on the right side and look at the phraseology, your call is important to us. It's going to take me a few minutes. Tell them it could be 5 minutes. It's going to take me 5 minutes to locate the manager because he or she is out on the property. And then give them a choice. Are you able to hold the line, or would you rather have a call back? Now, it's A or B choice. Are you able to hold the line? Would you rather have a call back? The guest gets to choose what their preference is. So they can say, you know what, I'm in the car, I'm driving, I don't mind holding, or they may say I'm going into a meeting, or I've got an appointment, I have somebody call me back. But either way, A or B, it's a win-win for the guest, it's a win-win for you. Let's look at number 5 on your handout, problem. People don't like to hear about problems. So if you say we're having a problem with your car, they're thinking, well, how much is it going to cost me? We're having a problem getting your parts. They're thinking, oh, how long is this going to put me out? It's better to say words like situation, opportunity, challenge. The good news is we can have that part for you here on the UPS truck by Friday afternoon. So we're looking at ways to stay away from the word problem. Look at number 6 on your handout, I'm sorry. Now, what's wrong with the word I'm sorry? It's almost as if you're saying I'm of no value or worth. So when you go, look, I'm so sorry this happened to you. people are thinking in their head, yeah, you're sorry and everybody else I've talked to here. As opposed to right side of the ledger there, I apologize. Thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for being understanding, or thank you for bringing this to our attention. Now, what's interesting when you say, I apologize, thank you for your patience. What's interesting about that, if people aren't patient and you actually thank them for being patient, they actually become patient because they're thinking, wow, I'm kind of rude. I'm kind of blunt. I'm being a little bit critical with this person, but they're positive. They owned it. And they're telling me, oh, by the way, thank you for being patient with us. So it has a like psychological impact. It causes them to go from negative to positive. So number 7, do you want my honest opinion? Now, when you use words like, well, do you want my honest opinion? Can I tell you the truth? Well, to be honest with you on this, when you say, do you want my honest opinion, it's implying that you normally give people dishonest opinions. If you say, well, can I tell you the truth? Or to be truthful with you, implies you're normally not truthful with people, and today's their lucky moment, and you're going to be truthful. So these are negative words. They're almost like cliches. We just want to get those out of our vocabulary. Look on the right side. Based on their situation, this would be my recommendation. So we never want to say things like, to be honest with you, can I tell you the truth? If you want my honest opinion, because again, it implies that we normally have a pattern of dishonesty with people, which is not true. Number 8, same thing, similar. Don't worry. When you say don't worry, what do people do? They worry. If you say trust me on this, what do? They don't trust. So on the right side, it's just better to tell people, I'm going to take care of this for you. Number 9, I don't know. So I don't know just implies ignorance of something. So it's better to say, look on the right side. Good question. Let me research that and I'll get back with you with the information. Number 10, I'm sorry, what are you trying to say? 11 fits in very closely with that as a negative, which is, what part of this do you not understand? So let's back up. What are you trying to say is almost like you're implying that people don't speak clearly, perhaps. Look at the right side. This is important. I want to make sure that I understand you correctly. So walk me back through your main concern on this. Again, when you say this is important to me, I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Kind of walk me back through your concern here. That gives your guests an opportunity to clarify. Because oftentimes what people say first and what they mean are two different things. Same thing with 11. What part of this you do not understand implies that someone might be ignorant of something. So if you look on the right side, you see the words, thank you for asking. Let me go back over whatever it is. If I'm a salesperson, thank you for asking. Let me go back over that finance and lease proposal for you again. Again, if you have any questions as we go through, please feel free to ask me a question. Now, it's also obviously at this point, it's important to watch people's facial expressions and body language. So if you're communicating with somebody and all of a sudden they're like rubbing their forehead, like shaking their head, body language is telling you they don't understand, they don't get it. Maybe you're talking to them, all of a sudden their eyes widen up a little bit, like, oh, I see, I get it. So we want to really pay attention. So if we see a deer in the headlight look with somebody going like, I don't know, stop, back up, and then say, let me clarify this point, and then take the time, spend a little more effort there, and maybe ask some questions. The last one, you're wrong versus you're right. So the example might be, maybe I'm a service advisor, and I get a customer call, and the customer's saying, look, I've had a mechanic who's been working on my dad's car, my car for the last 20 years, and he's telling me I need to replace the transmission on my Civic. So rather than saying, gosh, based on what you're telling me, you got some misinformation, which is you're wrong. I'm not sure why your mechanic told you that, but and fill in the blank. So as soon as you say you got wrong information, you're actually downgrading, if you want to say, their mechanic of 20 years that has been doing work. You're insulting their primary source of information, which we don't want to do. But if we take that information, we turn it from negative to positive, and say, you're right. If I had a technician been working on my car for 20 years and tell me I need a transmission needs to replace, I'm certainly going to take their information under serious consideration. But quite frankly, I sense the reason you're calling me is you wanted to get a second opinion. And I got to tell you, whatever the customer's name is, Susan, it's always a smart thing to get a second opinion, especially when you're looking at an investment like this in your car. My recommendation is let's set up a time to have one of our factory trained technicians take a look at the vehicle. We'll get a proper diagnostic done on the vehicle. And look, if we can extend the life and longevity of the transmission without replacing it, that's what we want to do first. But this way, you have the peace of mind knowing that you have a factory trained technician. We have all factory parts and service. We back it up with warranties. Not only the manufacturers, but Norm Reeves as well stands behind all the work. And that way you'll be able to make a good informed choice. Makes sense? Again, a little bit more phraseology there, but logic, reason, value, benefits, right word, right tone of voice, right body language makes all the difference. Now, we're going to go back to the PowerPoint as we're winding down here. And the last thing we're going to look at is your actionable ideas. It'll be on page 3. Again, it's always a smart thing to do as we go through the training to write down 1, 2, or 3 actionable things you want to do. Maybe it's a principle, maybe it's a word or phraseology, but what do you want to implement? Because again, it's not what we know that makes a difference in life. It's what we use and implement of what we know that has impact. So I want to thank you for your time and participation. And we look forward to seeing you in another training video. Thank you.